Welcome, everyone. This is the February 17th meeting of the Mare Cognitum virtual chapter for the Moon Society. I'm Ben Smith. Meeting today is going to be a little different. I didn't update the agenda. I'm going to have some news, talk about some volunteer opportunities. Irving's going to talk about an event, and then we're going to do the presentation and then the discussion. News. Not really much news since last month. We still have an open seat on the board of directors. There are some of the requirements. If you want to get involved in the leadership, give me or just get onto Slack and give somebody a message, or just put it in comments and we'll pick it up. We're also still working on our new vision, mission, values. Again, get in Slack if you want to help. Same goes with modernizing our website. Jesse Horn's working on that, but he could use some help. And we're still starting to plan Lunar Development Conference for this year. Here's the thing. We have two options. Well, we have three options. Option one is we don't have a conference because nobody bothers to volunteer. Option two is we pay somebody to run the conference like we did last year. And FYI, the society lost money on that event. Or option three is we get some volunteers and we actually put it on again ourselves like we did back in 2020, which I thought was a pretty good conference for being put together in a few months. So if you want to see a good LDC this year, volunteer some time.
I'm happy to do a lion's share of that, but I haven't been involved in previous conferences, so I would need some backup.
Oh yeah. We're not putting this on any one person. I mean, we have people in the leadership that honestly need to volunteer more, and we need members to actually contribute some time. And we need probably 2, 3, maybe 4 people dedicated to putting it together. And then conference days, we'll probably need those people plus maybe another 4 volunteers to help run things. When we ran the conference in 2020, we had 4 Slack channels, 2 tracks, 2 channels each track, and so we would need volunteers to run each channel throughout the day. And so we would need a number of volunteers to make sure that these tracks have enough volunteers running channels. But if you're interested, let us know in Slack. We'll start putting together a group, see what we can do.
I have put up a message in Slack.
Yep. Yeah, I know you're interested, Nicholas, but right now you're it.
Yeah, I'm a bit few.
I will put in some time to help, but I'm not running it. And so we need more people that are willing to actually put in, not a huge amount of time, but people that are going to help us organize it, contact possible presenters, stuff like that.
Ben, how many people in total were involved in running the conference, and how many hours do you think the Moon Society expended in setting up and running the conference?
Well, in 2020, it was basically me and James Burke who put together that conference and ran it. He handled the technical aspects, and I got together almost all the presenters. And then we had a handful of volunteers the days we were running the conference, actually managing the tracks and hosting those rooms, introducing people, getting the Q&A rolling, stuff like that. It was pretty sizable, but it wasn't a lot. And if we spread it out over 4 or 5 people, it wouldn't be that much. I mean, the technical aspects, I think we would just run it as just a Zoom conference. When we did 2020, we had an event company donate their software. So, you could get into chat rooms and you can do a bunch, and nobody used any of those features. So I think we would just keep it simple and just run it as just a straight up Zoom conference. 2021, we spent a good chunk of money hiring somebody to do it, and it was a single track, and it was okay, I thought, but I didn't think it was as good as 2020.
What kind of payback did you get from the proceedings that were published?
Payback, you mean, what kind of profit did we make?
Well, yeah, well, how much, less about the profit and more about, let's say, number of proceedings sold. How has that helped with Moon Society visibility? Does that add sufficient value to justify basically doing a repeat of 2020?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. So here's the problem we had with the proceedings for 2020. We didn't mandate that presenters also have a paper. AAIA, I believe, has a rule: no paper, no pulpit. So what we had to do is we had to take the presentations, run it through software to make automatic transcripts, which, as you can imagine, were full of errors, and then manually go through and try to fix those errors. So the conference proceedings are a bit of a mess because of that. If we did that this year, I think we would have it where if you want to present, you have to at least give us a one-page abstract that we can put into the proceedings.
Yeah, I agree.
If not a full paper, dealer's choice on that, but you got to give us something that we got in the proceedings so we don't have to spend so much manual labor trying to put something together on the back end.
If you submit the full-length paper, you become a keynote speaker.
Yeah, something like that, maybe. Yeah.
To what extent have you explored, if at all, merging a Moon Society event with another organizations and just collaborating rather than trying to put on a separate event?
I haven't explored that at all. And we could. We have to figure out who would want to collaborate, and then we have to figure out, do we have enough volunteer power to make that viable? Because right now, the real sticking point for everything we do is trying to find people that actually want to spend time doing it. So we're in the early stages of putting this together, but it just all depends on if we can get the leadership, if we get the members, if we can get people to want to actually, put it together.
Have you spoken with like Machel Allen at NSS or?
No. I mean, they want us to help run their moon track for ISDC, which is great. But again, trying to find people that actually want to do it is the hard part.
Wait a sec. So usually that's been Madhu's thing, is running the moon track. So is he not going to be doing it this year?
I don't know. I have very little information. Our Vice President, James Burke, is the one that's been contacting them. And apparently the President, Michael Mealing, has also now been contacting them, but I'm out of the loop on that. So I don't know any of the details, but you're right. He has been running it. So I don't know if we'll be co-running it or if we'll just be supplying a lot of the muscle. I don't know.
Well, it may be worth proposing that, and I do not have any involvement with ISDC. So I can say this, is it possibly worth proposing about some form in which the lunar track is sponsored by the Moon Society so that organizationally there's some formal recognition?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not involved in those meetings, so I don't know what's been said or what's been promised or anything like that. I will say, from my own point of view, I would rather see us, if we can only do one thing, I'd rather see us do an LDC than help with the moon track, because I think an LDC helps raise our brand, and it also, if we do it correctly, helps make us money. So we made money on it in 2020. We lost money in 2021 because we paid an outside person to put it together. And honestly, last year, the marketing was just abysmal. But again, we had other people from the outside who said they would do that, and it failed to happen. So
Is there a target date for having an LDC?
Well, that's something that's under discussion. Personally, I would like us to own July 20th
I agree.
and have it on that date and either bracket that date before or after, depending on if it's a 2 or 3 day thing. But, and I would like, I would
But
like.
I think I agree. I think it's really important to pick that date.
Yeah, I would like us to own that date and then every year go forward, have the conference on that date.
Have you spoken to Buzz Aldrin about this at all?
No, I mean, I'm sure we've talked, we had Buzz's son present last year, but we haven't talked to Buzz about that. I mean, right now we're probably beneath notice. We're below the radar for Buzz and people that operate that level. We just don't have the visibility, the members, the draw.
I might be able to get Maria Aldrin again. I had her make footprints in lunar soil regolith, lunar soil simulant 12 years ago or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a relative of Buzz Aldrin. He has Swedish inheritance.
We can get Buzz adjacent at this point. That's all I can say. But yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how it plays out. I would like to see us do an LDC, but I'm not taking on the full burden of it this time around.
Because even if you start right now with a July date, that's a pretty demanding time frame in terms of, the lead time that you have to figure out how you want it to be structured. Are you going to have one track, more than one track, attracting speakers, setting up the website, everything else. It's a lot of work and not a lot of time.
Well, maybe, I don't know how much you engage with other conferences that go on during the year that have lunar tracks, but perhaps seeding the idea of a Moon Society event at other conferences and pulling together people through those discussions and then coming to a focus on how you might proceed. I don't know.
If we're gonna have 20th July, we need to start contacting speakers kind of now. We can't go to other conferences. It takes too long time. We can do that for next year.
Yeah.
Has anyone here ever been to one of these unspace events or mini conferences? They're kind of organized along lines similar to that of a TED Talk. You got 5 minutes. It's a very rapid turnaround in terms of presentations.
Nope.
No.
I think 5 minutes is a bit too little to be able to.
It is, but a couple of years ago, I attended the Division of Planetary Sciences, their annual conference, and they had a lot. I was shocked, but a lot of the presentations were 5 minutes, and that was primarily because they wanted to get as many people as possible. And this was a week-long conference, but they wanted to get everybody who was doing their little bit of research. They wanted to give them the option of actually speaking. So whereas with the unspace thing, it's like, okay, we've got a very compressed window of time in which to do presentations. Do we do one presentation or two presentations, or do we do 10 or 20? And each one is a very rapid fire, bang, 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 and hit a lot of different topics. So now something like that would kind of preclude the idea of proceedings, because 5 minutes really, I don't know how well that would translate into conference papers, but.
Right.
Just a thought as a different angle to consider, going forward.
Yep. Well, we're gonna move on to the presentation, but these are all good ideas. If you want to get involved in figuring this out or helping, we're doing it in Slack. So, that's where ideas go, and we'll start putting this together or not. We'll just have to see. But I don't want this to go over an hour because I know you guys have some place to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so quickly, we got a ton of leadership and volunteer opportunities. Again, I'm going to stress that my last Mare Cognitum chapter leader session is going to be in June. I said I'd do it for a year. If nobody steps up to take over, then that's going to be it. So just putting that out there. And then, of course, the LDC 2020 team. Okay, so tonight, hold on, before we do this, Irving, do you want to quickly tell everybody about your event? Irving, you're muted.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I'm involved with an organization, as is Jim, called Space Renaissance International. Their main theme or mission is civilians in space. But one of their themes or channels of interest is art. And it just so happens that this week we're having a series of meetings on something called Moon Gallery. And that's what led me to want to pass on the information to Ben, because something that purports to have to do with the moon, I thought the Moon Society people ought to be maybe aware of it. So very quickly, there are some meetings going on this week. There is the Moon Gallery is an art gallery eventually intended to be sent to the moon. This week is a test flight to deliver a portion of that to the International Space Station. Launch will be Saturday at Wallops Island, Virginia. And so we've had one meeting, there's another one tomorrow, and there'll be another one on Saturday in conjunction with the launch. SRI is also looking for members, as is everybody else. But it's reasonable. There are a lot of top-notch people involved. And if anyone is interested in more details, I'll be glad to provide that. But in the interest of time, I will end it there unless there are some immediate questions. Jim, did you have anything to add?
No, I think you're on target, and we have various feelers out there right now trying to figure out how to pull together a program which ECs Worldwide has been established in conjunction with Space Renaissance International. But there are a lot of feelers out there right now trying to figure out the right way to get back here. So I think we just need to keep exploring opportunities, and rather than compete, find ways to collaborate with other organizations that have like a common baseline of interests, especially in terms of a lunar return, and see how, what you might be able to align, moving forward.
Right. Great. Well, it sounds like an interesting thing. If you have a link, Irving, you can throw it in the chat.
Okay.
Wants it. But we're going to go ahead and get Machel Allen. He is going to do a presentation on nitrogen, hydrogen batteries, the make, the quality, and the composition. So I'm going to stop sharing. And Machel, Can you go ahead and throw up your screen saving or screen sharing and unmute, and it's all yours. And everybody else, just go ahead and mute yourself until we're until he's done.
So greetings, everyone. I'm Machel Allen. I pursued a MSc in production management at the University of the West Indies here in Trinidad. All right. Due to a publication that I did surrounding space vehicles, I realized that NASA had included me into the LSIC organization. In particular, I'm on the surface power and dust mitigation. That was as of early last year, I think spring conference on the publication that I did. Innovation on different forms of space rovers, space rockets, etc. Well, the purpose of tonight's presentation is really to discuss a business plan and an objective that I am seeking to embark on. And one of the reasons why I come to these Mare Cognitum meetings is that I want to say who are the active members that are part of the society, because those are members that are looking forward to start this business initiative. I'll go to the next slide if I could swap. Wow, so the next slide. Page, yeah, this page two, yes. So the first initiative that I have is, both of them is to do a feature to the present space vehicles that exist. Those that are going to be doing the science research on the moon, and those that are going to be part of the excavation work that will be taking place on the moon. I know the HLS project is set for 2024, right? So one of the things I'm looking at is to add a feature to the rovers that are being developed to extend power and battery life to the vehicles that will be used for the Space Moon project, and also for the mission to Mars, but more directly for the Space Moon project. My experience comes from working with Toyota. I worked with Toyota for about 3 to 4 years. And having gained knowledge in certain areas and certain respect. Everybody goes to the slides clearly. I think I see a message here, but yeah, having gained experience, I realized that the electrolytes, and in particular coming from the dust particles, could be used to merge with the hydrogen cell batteries for the VISA project to extend battery life and power. And the base of my research comes from what I've seen with the Toyota Land Cruiser Prados. Because what I know is that and from what has been tested and proven is that the nitrogen dioxide that naturally emits from the engines of the Toyota Prados and some of the SUVs, but I know Toyota was the first to do it. They have found a way to redistribute, do the emission control system, redistribute the NO2 back into the combustion chamber as a source of fuel and power. And it works so effective that even with less diesel, the products have the same kick, replacing the NO2 that usually comes out the tailpipe and which is known to be cancerous, and that is a part of the ergonomic design for the products. It has now been redistributed back. So now you have less causes of cancer as a result. But then it is used back into the combustion chamber. It has been proven to work as a source of power. I'm looking to apply the same initiative with the VSAT project. Using electrolytes, and the theory does carry shark seawater theory that that the NO2 does give a positive it actually a source of power that could also be applied in a controlled environment. Even a vacuum, it comes on to the space rovers. That is the first thing. The second thing I'm looking at is to do.
Machel, can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
Some people are having a hard time reading it because it's small. If you turn your phone sideways, maybe it'll go full screen.
Oh, okay.
Vertical. There we go.
That works?
Yep, that works good. Thank you.
Yeah, my apologies. I realized that how you guys were seeing it. Let me. All right, so now on the moon we have different types of electrolytes. One of it is helium-3, which is an effective source of fuel, hydrogen, but sodium. So these are actually the type of electrolytes we're looking at, which does and the voltage does vary. Oxygen, of course, gives a positive negative charge even to the human body itself. And I mean, oxygen is a powerful thing, and I might take it for granted, but I mean, if you're deprived of oxygen for a little while, I guess whether it be cyanide poison or whatever, and oxygen hits you, they know that definitely oxygen is a powerful thing. It had actually a positive too, even to the human body itself. So that the theory does carry. It also does carry electromechanical systems, right? So the second part of the second feature that I'm looking to add, apart from the electrolytes, is to do a steam generation system. And that'll be more for the vehicles doing the excavation work. I know this slide speaks about how the electrolytes will be applied and merged. It will be merged through a vacuum. So the aerosol, type of aerosol regulator that comes in, we'll use a kind of vacuum that it will suck up the waste regulator, and that'll be the minor aerosol regulator, and then it would redistribute it back into the via funnel into the hydrogen cell batteries. So this is a part, so it'd be a kind of dust mitigation, but then we will use the regulator would put some useful purposes apart from just disposing of it, which it's gonna be practically impossible really to be on the moon and to drive around actually and speak about total of dust matter. It's not going to happen. So the idea we're looking at is using a vacuum to suck extra regulate and then bring it through a funnel through a processing environment, and then it will merge with the hydrogen atoms. And this will help to give an extended battery life while they are performing their operations on the moon. Oh, and this is a picture of the regulate. To the left is the regulate naturally and then regulate without oxygen. I just put that in a typical example. So the second part of the project, or rather the second feature, this is more targeted to the excavation vehicles. And speaking this, having had construction experience myself and being in construction environments, also being an extra heavy operator, I actually have expertise in operating extra heavy vehicles. trailers, trucks, that kind of thing. My papers to show that. And having that kind of experience operating heavy equipments, heavy machinery, and also being in construction environment, I know what it is like. And even though the moon is going to be a vacuum, you're going to look for the same kind of thing, tedious, lengthy work, that kind of thing. It's going to be dirty work, especially with the miner regulate those areas. It's going to be like extra dirty work. But in a general construction environment, that you're basically looking for something like that. So in terms of using a battery within and of itself, and then to the kind of construction work that they're looking to accomplish on the moon, the batteries alone may not be so sufficient when it comes on to doing actual excavation work. It's about the time of recharging batteries. And so what I'm looking to recommend is the steam generator system. So unlike the regular VSAT project that will focus on using the photons from the sun to recharge a battery, my system will be a multifaceted system. It will also use the heat from the sun. I will be going generation storage system. So what we'll have is a dual facet maybe at the back of the vehicle, where now it uses the heat, not only the photons, but also use the heat as a source of energy to cause mechanical power, especially to the vehicles that are doing the excavation work. So we're looking at power life creation work on the moon. Regulatory rebar work going on. We have also looked at that regulatory rebar. So it's almost like back to the time with children of Israel with Pharaoh that said that you have to build the straw, find the straw and build the building, right? So we know that is going to be a lengthy and tedious work. So we have to look at how can we make the most out of the sunlight. And the best way to make the most out of the sun is not only use the photons, but use the heat. And the heat will go to a contracted chamber with molten salt or molten regolith. And the effectiveness is there because research actually showed that molten salt actually can contract heat for up to 3 days. So they will have power to work in the night, in the lunar night, and in the lunar day. Where it is in the deep craters with the ice, the power generation. So there, what you have is the only factor now would be the human factor, fatigue, because the system that we're proposing is a system that will be a non-stop 24/7 powered vehicle, because it contracts the photons. And what we're looking to do is do gallium arsenide along with that, which will make the most out of going through the boron and then hitting the hydrogen atoms. And then now, from the steam generation standpoint, it contracting the heat in a heat chamber and it causing mechanical power using heat conversion to power and energy. So effectively, that is basically what my initiative is. So the idea is to start a business operation, to start a company. Actually, Toyota in the Caribbean here, they're already aware of the business plan already. Because I already had a meeting with Toyota, with the president of Toyota, Mr. Ryan Lachu, here in Trinidad. Myself and my very good friends. So Toyota is aware of the project. Not that they will, of course, they said they're a car company. So, you know, one of the concerns they put to me is, how are you going to pull this off? How are you going to go to NASA, being a Trinidadian, and be able to convince NASA enough? I know that was the thought that they had put to me, but I said that I'll find the right people. And that's how I come to the Moon Society. Because finding the right people will be the first start. because the company artists are aware of where the help would be needed. In terms of the other business side of it between ourselves and them, that's what we'll discuss at another point. But the idea here for me is to get the company off and secure MOU. I know the last presenter last time, and it was very beautiful that Mr. Smith had him. I used to work with NASA and how to secure MOUs with NASA. And that's what my focus is for this year, to start the company, using members of the Moon Society, secure the MOU, and then 2023 I focus on building technologies. So I use my links within Toyota, along with some other connections that I have, but more so with the Lunar Regulate and the VSAT initiative. I use my links within Toyota and start business. Once we can successfully secure MOU with NASA and focus on building out the actual technologies from start to finish in 2023. So by 2024, when we have HLS project, we have something that we'll put down and well organized. So I know there's some rough thing in terms of budget, what it will cost. I know the benefits that I guess we'll give to the Moon Society, because the idea here is for proceeds to go back to the Moon Society, to profit the Moon Society and those partaking members. Those are the budget factor. Again, there's some research that I did in terms of what it will cost, what we stand to gain from the project. And we've seen the figures there. And this is from a research that was done 2 years ago from Morgan Stanley. All right, so basic strength, weakness, multifaceted team, conglomeration, expertise, experience, connections with main suppliers, Lockheed Martin. Our dialogue with Ivan K. Evangelos about that. I know he has links there, and I use my links within Toyota as to the other side of the project. All right, ability, of course, weaknesses here. Ability to source means of funding to develop technologies. The possibility of focus going into other areas deemed more necessary by government departments. And there's an issue here in terms of how convinced will come off as, which I think I'll be quite capable of doing that, given the fact that I have my papers to show that I have FET experience. Meeting the right people at the right place and time together support in funding, and acquisition, most importantly, of a security clearance, let's say, from the DoD. So I guess that is going to be one step for me personally to do that. And I'm presently working on acquiring a visa. So I get it out of the way right now. And then to get that part of it once I secure that. And we're looking at the opportunities here. So we're targeting government bodies here, Canadian Space Agency, of course, NASA. Those are persons looking at. Non-discriminatory, if Russia wants to come on, and we'll go build things for them as well. All those who want to participate in the space research, but the idea here is to focus on the three closest partners: NASA, CSC, and Eurospace Station, or space associations. And any threat, breach of confidence, I guess person may want to steal our business idea, which apart of the reason I haven't revealed everything here at this meeting, and it's coming out on YouTube, speak generally. So general threats here, non-US allies and intelligence becoming aware of the venture, trying to steal the business plan, that kind of thing. So this will be this kind of the presentation. Just to reiterate everything I mentioned before in terms of countering dust mitigation through vacuuming, and then merging regulate with hydrogen batteries to extend battery life. And that's basically it for the presentation.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate that. So, I'm sorry, did you have more you were going to present?
No, that's it. That's it. Basically, thanks to everybody who participated in the presentation. Thanks for giving here a note, but the ideas are most appreciative of you all. Thank you so much.
All right, so let me see if I can summarize what your concept is. So you're focused on equipment that's going to go on regolith moving material on the moon, right?
Regolith moving material.
So the vehicles that are going to
Yes.
be moving the regolith, you're focused on putting equipment on those vehicles.
Yes, effectively.
Okay,
So,
and so you have two components for this equipment. One of them is the battery, and the other one is a thermal engine of some kind to,
generators.
right?
Yes.
Okay. And so for the battery, you're proposing to use a nitrogen battery that also uses regolith dust as a fuel source?
Well, it will be both nitrogen and hydrogen, but nitrogen for the deep core regions of the moon. I mean, and hydrogen generally, but then especially for the deep core regions because it works better. A mix between nitrogen and hydrogen, but then the idea here is to use extrapolation system where we take the electrolytes from the regolith and pass it to the atoms that are free flowing in the battery cells.
Okay, so when you say electrolytes in the regolith, what chemicals are you referring to exactly?
Look at the helium-3, the oxygen, of course, we've been nitrogen already, hydrogen, that kind of thing. Most of the helium-3 and the titanium, those things that give a positive charge.
Right, but everything except for the volatiles in the regolith are chemically bound. They're all either metal oxides or silicon oxides. So how does the battery chemically unbind these components? Because unless the battery has a certain amount, as I understand it, unless the battery has a certain amount of heat involved, the oxides will not break on their own.
Yes. So that's the reason why between the vacuum, we'll have a vacuum funnel, we're going to have a type of filtration system where that's where the breaking will take place. So we look at zone basing, heat restriction. We look at different methodologies that would then, between there, going back to the cell batteries. So not necessarily the raw regolith as it is. We're going to have a straining system and a filtration system to bring to
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. Normally batteries are considered self-contained, right? Oh, Irving's got a question. Go ahead, Irving.
Yeah, just a general question. Have you done any experiments as a proof of concept of this process?
well, the experimentation that I've been exposed to is what actually would have been done
You're breaking up, Michelle. Can you repeat, please?
The product side. So the exposure that I have is as it relates to the Land Cruiser products, and now they actually treat with the nitrogen dioxide and redistribute it as a source of power for their engines. So I'm accustomed to that is for their SUVs. So I know that the tier will carry, because I've seen the nitrogen, the NO2 being at work in the engine design for the new days products.
Right. So with the Toyota design, they're taking an engine waste product and feeding it back in to boost efficiency by combusting the NO2, right?
Yes, effectively.
Right. So I guess my question is, you're not
So
going to find NO2 naturally occurring in the regolith as we know it. So are you bringing nitrogen oxide from the earth? Is that imported?
Well, I'm looking at the fact that within the regolith itself, there is nitrogen.
Right, in trace amounts.
Where now we'll get the expertise. Your emission control to the same methodology to bind the atoms. So we're going to extrapolate from the regolith and then to bind the atoms going back to the hydrogen cell.
So what you're saying is that these vehicles, while they're doing whatever activity they've been tasked to do, moving regolith, they're also going to be extracting volatiles from the regolith and then feeding them into the battery?
Yeah, what we're going to, it's going to go through a type of filtration system where we either use zone basing or heat extrapolation before it then goes back to the, so it's going to be a filtered, it's going to be filtered going back to the hydrogen cells. So we'll vacuum it and they will bring it through a filter. We expose it, it could be heat extrapolation, and that's how we break through the crystalline and then get the free atoms from the nitrogen and the oxide and then merge it with the hydrogen battery cells before it then goes to the hydrogen cell batteries.
Do you have any kind of estimate on how massive this equipment would be?
I don't think it would be basically like the size of like the SUV, like the size of the engine size for a Prado. We're looking at that in terms of size. We're looking at just like how you have a 4-cylinder engine around the size of that.
But that unit, that piece of equipment is designed to take something that is relatively pure, which is your nitrogen oxide. Whereas if you're releasing volatiles from the regolith, you're going to get some mix of volatiles. You know, you'll get hydrogen, you'll get nitrogen, you'll get, you know, helium-3, you'll get, depending on how you're releasing the volatiles out of the regolith, you'll probably get some kind of gaseous mix.
All those we are using, we're going to use the helium-3, we're going to use the hydrogen, we're going to use all the volatiles because all of them give a positive charge. It's just a variation. Oxygen is +2, hydrogen is +5. We're using all the volatiles.
And then what happens with these volatiles once you've used them in the battery? Are they then expelled into the environment, or are they stored?
We're looking for it to merge with the hydrogen atoms that are within the cell batteries.
Right, but if you're bringing in material in a constant rate, you've got to have some place to put it when you're done. Either you vent it or you store it in tanks.
Okay, in terms of what you're talking about, exactly. So this is where the filtration system will come in, because what happens is that you can require electric rotor. So the waste material, right, that is going to be pushed out. We're going to have a type of strainer where it's only the extrapolates are going to pass through that strainer to go to the cell batteries, but then the extra waste, we're going to dispose that. So we're going to have a funnel, but then it's similar to how also you have, like we have a car engine, we have the tailpipe or the twin cam. So we're going to have an aspect that goes through, let's say like a cam, the waste regulate, the waste matter after filtration takes place. So we're going to have two filters or two strainers, one that from the vacuum that sucks in, and then now we have another filtration just before it actually gets to each of the battery cells. So we will not have a situation where you'd have any clogging going to the actual batteries.
Hi, folks. Thanks so much for the presentation. I've got to make another phone call before a 4 o'clock Zoom with NSS. So, but thank you so much. Most appreciated. And all best of luck with your enterprise here. Sounds very exciting.
Yep. Thanks for showing up, Jim.
Okay.
James had a question. What is the advantage of this concept over liquid hydrogen oxygen fuel cells?
That's a good question. There is no advantage. But then the liquid oxygen, you have to take it from the earth to bring to the moon, right? So what we're looking at, that's going to come with a cost if we're going to keep on transporting from the earth to the moon, right?
So you're saying there's a mass.
So what we're looking at, yeah? Repeat?
You broke up there at the end.
Yes,
liquid
go
oxygen
ahead.
would be readily available on the moon. There might be some debate over the problem of liquefying hydrogen, but even the hydrogen would be essentially present.
Thanks for showing up, Jim. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. This talk actually led me into a lot of other energy storage systems I was unaware of. So
I need to leave too. Cheers.
Bye, Nicholas.
Thank you all.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I think what I need to see is like a flow chart or some kind of visual aid that shows the process from start to finish. I think that would help me understand the concept better.
Good. As it relates to the steam in paper about the steam generator too is one fleshed out more clearly. But in terms of the other part, I could do that. The same solar that I sent here before, that actually fleshed out more clearly as there is the steam generators. But in terms of how it will merge as to the use of regulate, yeah, I could work on that.
So what has to be imported from Earth?
Well, anything be imported from Earth. It would just be liquid hydrogen from yes, the engine designs and everything will be done locally on the planet in terms of the filtration systems, all that will be done local on the planet. The only thing that will import is just the hydrogen cells. Everything else, like there's ice on the moon. So yeah, I guess everything else, the idea here is to cut back also on costs, because it's going to be costly to transport to and from the moon. So the idea here is to use to regulate to and at less cost. Or getting more out of the excavation work and the traveling for the different researches that were going on the face of the moon.
Rather than a chemical reaction, you might want to look at the thermal. There's a lot of interest now for grid storage. One of basically the largest builder of wind turbines in Sweden is planning a system based on rock, heating the rock and then extracting the heat to run a steam turbine. There's another one by a company called Highview that's probably going to be the leader in grid power storage, but it's based on a concept called liquid air, where they use excess electricity to liquefy air, then use the liquid, basically the liquid air is then heated by the ambient atmosphere, which then drives a gas turbine to generate electricity, which it wouldn't be. So their technology has some interesting points that we might incorporate on the moon, but a lot of the advantages disappear because the moon doesn't have an atmosphere.
Yeah,
We get it from the ice.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
There's something from the ice.
Yeah, basically you need a heat source for an energy source. And so, like I say, the Swedish company is looking to use rock, which is interesting. I don't know why they decided not to move with molten salt, but they made a deliberate decision to use rock rather than molten salt as a thermal source.
I would imagine it's simplicity. I mean, molten salt is effective, but that's just damn hard to do. It's corrosive.
That's my suspicion too. And again, this they're looking for grid storage on the order of terawatt hours.
Mike's picking up a lot of background noise. Yep, that's better. I'm sorry, Jim, what was that?
The systems, both Highview and the Swedish systems, are looking at terawatt hours.
I missed part of that. There. Say it again,
Terawatt
please.
hours. The storage systems are in the terawatt hours, and two projects at Highview are going into operation this year.
Right. I mean, if you're talking about such large amounts of storage, that's one thing. You know, if you're talking about a small lunar settlement, yeah, it's not going to need terawatt hours of storage to begin with. It's going to need enough to get through the lunar night. Yeah. Yeah.
The big challenge I see is what he's mentioning, though. I didn't know how he was planning to use his battery, and that is in the question of excavation, and that's an area that I don't think has got that people have gone into very well. So that's something that is definitely where we need to look into more.
Well, you know, surface excavation is a major challenge because of the gravity. Most excavating techniques don't work well in 1/6G. So yeah, I mean, I've seen designs where they're using all kinds of clever digging devices to, you know, offset that drawback. But yeah, surface excavation is a big problem and it's not getting a lot of attention.
There's steam generators.
Well, the problem with steam generators, at least from NASA's point of view, as I understand it, is they don't like the idea of such a high pressurized system. And, you know, they're less effective than other higher tech options. So you might have a bit of an uphill battle convincing NASA to go with steam power. That's not really in their wheelhouse. They're usually thinking about stuff that's more high tech. I personally like steam power. I think it's great. It's simple and it's easy to replicate and maintain.
But we using the photons and the steam. So it does not be steam on photons and steam. So get within the one vehicle. So we have the solar panels that run to hydrogen battery, and then we have the steam generators, like another compartment that can trap steam with motor and start to regulate.
I get it. I'm just saying that you might have a bit of a harder time convincing NASA to look at steam. Just because that's not really their paradigm. They'll probably be much more interested in a, you know, higher tech, higher efficiency option.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't know what NASA wants really.
And then this is where the solar towers will also come into play. But we'll talk on that.
Does anybody else have any questions for Machel?
What are your what do you envision as your next steps?
Company demo you by at least by the end of this year, and then spend the next rest of next year once we can secure that to actually build out the technology from start to finish. I use my internal links with Toyota and otherwise. So what I want to make sure we can actually secure the MOU. Once we could do that, then I could always approach my links within Toyota, because that's what they'll be interested in, where I will be able to do that. And then from there, yeah, we'll just focus on building out the technology from start to finish. Because there are the links, some of their links in Japan already. So even some of the managers, they're also aware of what the idea is.
Cool. Anybody got anything else? Oh, all right. Well, let's just go ahead and wrap it up then. Thanks, Machel. Appreciate it. Interesting presentation. Good luck with that. Be interesting to see how that starts to turn out.
But Clinton does if it does think about a product engine, you get something very similar. Of course, without the air in and air, because there's no air on the moon, but something very similar.
Oh, your mic just cut out.
That is it.
Your mic cut out there. Can you repeat that?
It's going to be just similar to how the engine for a Prado is. It's going to be, except for the air in and air out. because there's no air on the moon. So it's going to be this a similar design to what you see with the products, the internal design. In terms of the filtration, it's going to be very similar.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks everybody for showing up. Appreciate it. This will be on the website, on our YouTube site, and next week sometime when I finally get around to editing it and everything. Thanks again, Machel. Appreciate it. And everybody have a good night.
Thanks, Ben, for putting this on.
Yep.